Hello Flosstube, I'm Lori of Mischievous Stitches. Welcome to my channel. I'm back again this weekend to share with everyone what I have been stitching along on for this past week. If you remember or you had a chance to watch my last video, I have usually around 3, no more than 4 focus pieces at any given time, and I'm working to get my WIP number down for this year. So this past Sunday, after making the video, I had finished up Blackbird Designs Birds of a Feather, and I decided to pull another WIP from the pile. And I picked up one that I think I started it maybe 4 years ago. I was using this as what I called a lunchtime piece. At the time, I was working a little over an hour commute away from home, and so on my lunch break, I would walk to the neighboring library. They had a playground there, and I would walk there and I would stitch for 30 minutes or so on my lunch break and just walk back to my office. I'm no longer at that office, and I'm no longer stitching at lunchtime. So this one is just laboring away in my tote full of WIPs. I'm going to share with you what that piece is. It is a mystery sampler by Lottie Da. It's stitched on cocoa linen, and I'm going to show you the portion that I am working on. This is the first portion. It came in 3 installments. And as I said, it was a mystery sampler. And the picture of the pattern, or the snapshot or portion that you get to see of the pattern on the pattern pieces, because it's a mystery sampler, is this. So they all look the same on the front. And so it's broken up into three portions. And once again, this is the portion that I'm done. This is on the third portion. This little, it reminds me of a hobbit hole. If you've ever watched Lord of the Rings, that's what that reminds me of. But this is the top portion of the sampler, and this motif is at the bottom. And I'm going to show you where I'm at. It calls for DMC fabric and DMC threads. And here are the thread colors, and they're earth tones, so they're just perfect for me. And they're on a thread ring, floss ring, and when I use the Weeks Dye Works thread, I use my little punch, my little crumpadile, and I just put a little hole in there to put any leftover threads on there. And then once I'm done, I've got a larger, about that size, so about 4-inch wide floss ring that I put the remaining threads on as I finish up patterns. So, but this gives me a place to stow a thread or two that I may have not used up with my stitching, and I switch to another color so that I am not wasteful with the overdyes. Here's the piece. As I said, this is on Weeks Dye Works fabric. It's either 36 or 40, knowing me, maybe 36. And this is how all the flowers will look. So they're pink and they're outlined, and I think that's Schneckly. So I think last weekend I did finish up. I wanted to see how the flowers would look, so I put the yellow there. I stitched on the line here, and I also stitched a little more on the flower. So I didn't get very much. It was just one evening, but progress is progress. Whether you're making a little or a lot, progress is progress. This also shows me how old it's been. These were just little, they were in the school supply section of a store, and some time ago, and I would use these to store my kitted patterns. It still works, but I know that I will do away with this as soon as I finish this pattern and switch to one of my project envelopes. The next thing that I worked on was the Needleworker sampler, and this is by Hillis Designs. I'm stitching this as a stitch along with several other stitchers, and there's a Facebook page for that I'll link below. This is the piece. Several of the ladies have already finished theirs, and it's so gorgeous. And because there are charms and buttons that can be placed into it, some of the stitchers are really making it their own by choosing, you know, some of their grandmother's old buttons. When one of the stitchers has changed the color of the alphabet to a green. They all look amazing, but this is a sampler that, or a piece that really lends itself to being changed up to suit the whims or the wants of the stitcher. I will show you where I got on this. I worked on this Monday through Wednesday. And this is where I got. So I feel like I got a lot of progress because I brought the white border that I was struggling with. I brought that over and down and around. So I'm almost done. You can see I come all the way down to the bottom. So it's here all the way around. So I did that. I also brought the outside border. Oh, I'm pointing to the wrong side. Let me just fold that around. So I also brought this outside border down and across, and a lot of the, most all but maybe one and a portion of another line, I've completed the border boxes in the center. I thought that was basically done last week, but I wasn't. It is a 5 by 4 inch or 5 by 4 blocks here, and I had only done a 4 by 4, so I had to stitch the bottom, and so I've got one little line to complete here and a little bit more to complete that one, and then the border boxes in the center are completely done. I also did some of the tops of there's spools in each of these squares, and so I finished those up and I've completed the stitching on that spool. So I'll give this another night or two this week, and I'll probably finish up those spools. I know there's one other spool, and then there's some specialty stitches in those border boxes. I may finish up the spools and maybe work on some of the wording in the outside, or the outside stitching. We'll see. But this is another one that I hope to have finished by the end of this month. I had planned to stitch the end of June, but I didn't plan on my daughter coming home so soon, and I got happily distracted with her being here. Let me put my threads back in there. The threads are just, I have a bad habit of, I have lots of threads on bobbins, because that, for years, that's how I stitched. I stitched with my threads on bobbins, and now I'm doing the floss drops, and the thread drops, I really like them, and I waver back and forth. But what I am trying to do is, because my oldest threads are the ones that are on bobbins, instead of buying new ones, which is what I tend to do, is buy new skeins of floss when I'm starting, especially if I'm starting a huge sampler, because I don't want there to be dye lot issues. And then I have all these leftover threads, so I have boxes. I have 12 boxes of bobbins, and I've really tried, and this is what ends up happening. Depending on my needs and what I have available, in whether it be in bobbins or thread drops, this is what one of my thread rings look like now. It's not a problem. It just is what it is. I want to be a little more frugal. There's no sense in me buying threads. It just makes me happy. It makes me happy to get a new pattern and then go to the store and pull the threads and see them. It's just a giddy feeling, but I need to slow my roll a little bit. So this past Friday, I did not stitch on, because I finished Birds of a Feather by Blackbird Designs. That was a piece I was stitching as Friendship Friday with Jen of Jen Stitching Knits. She's still working on hers, but I spoke with her during the week and I let her know that I had finished my piece and sent her a few pictures of it, and we talked back and forth a little bit, and we're both currently have Cooper by Kathy Barrick as a whip. So after she finishes her Birds of a Feather, we're going to work together to complete Cooper, and I love that, because we're really prompting each other to stitch on these pieces, if only that one day a week, and it really helped me to get the Birds of a Feather finished. So I'm glad we're going to do that again with Cooper. And on yesterday, I stitched all day. My husband unfortunately had to leave the home for the majority of the day. My daughter had had plans with friends at their home, and I just kind of sat around the house. Normally we have a big family get together at our house, and with everything going on right now with COVID, we just kind of stayed home. And with having no one here but the cat, they were gone, and I, not we, but I, as in me and the cat, we sat home and I stitched the majority of the day. And I cannot remember the last time I was able to stitch from breakfast till midnight, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. It was so relaxing. I binge watched some Netflix and just enjoyed my day my way. But this is Diana of It Is Kismet Stitches birthday month, and she's doing a repeat of last year where she's doing Christmas in July. So I've joined Jolly July Stitching and Christmas in July Stitching, and I started this piece in 2018 for Mania, and I got very little done because I only worked on it one day for Mania. So I picked it up last year for It Is Kismet Stitches Christmas in July Sal. I picked it up and got some stitches in it last year. Well, I decided to pull it back out again this year. So this is another whip, and this is where I am. So when I started this piece in 2018 for that one day, I had the tip of his Santa's bag and just a little bit of the border stitching in this corner. So when I stitched on it last year, I worked on the sleigh, I worked on the little elf behind him in the distance, and I worked on Santa in the bag. Well, yesterday, I got all these snowflakes done. I completed the sleigh itself, the rails down here. I worked my way down so that I could start on the village that's beneath Santa's sleigh. I got one of the trees in, I got part of a house in, and I brought that border around. So I got a good bit of work done on that. I'm very happy with the progress I made. I spent several hours on this, made me very happy. And I plan to work on it even more this week. So that'll be another piece that I work on. Here is the thread colors for this one. I just love the Prairie Schooler colors. You can definitely tell a Prairie Schooler piece even if you don't know that's by them. If you're familiar with Prairie Schooler and you see a finished piece, you pretty much know it's a Prairie Schooler. And the last thing I worked on this week was Liberty House Sampler by Heart and Hand. This was a kit I bought many years ago at my local needlework shop, Counted Stitches. And it come in a little bag, vinyl bag, with the buttons. They're little rectangular, Just Another Button Company buttons for the piece. And let me show it to you again. So it came with the buttons. It came with the fabric. I believe it's a natural linen. Let me look real quick. Where's my glasses? Yes, natural Belfast linen, 32 count, 2 threads over 2. It gives you the option of using Wheats Dye Works, Anchor, or DMC. Like I said, I'm trying to work through some of my threads, so I pulled DMC. There's only 5 colors, and this is, disregard my thread knot there, but let me just pull those off. This is where I got last night. And I was joining in with Michelle of the Striped Rose. She was stitching Flag Folk for the 4th of July holiday. And so I had put down Christmas Eve by Prairie Schooler and picked this one up for a start. So I got the majority of the flag done. And today I've worked a little bit here. You can see, maybe you can't see, but my needle's poking out right there. Was working towards the house, and I hopefully will have this finished before next weekend. There's not that much left to do. The house goes down and it borders here alongside the flagpole and the base of the house, or the foundation of the house, and the bottom of the flagpole are of course even. And then there is an alphabet here, all done in DMC 612, which is the same brown. And down here somewhere below, it will have U, S, and A from the alphabet stitched in red for the USA. And so this is this. So I've enjoyed working on this. It finishes up like, I think it's like 3.5 inches by 4.5 inches. So it's something that I can easily place into a 5x7 frame. I'm hoping to find one of the unfinished frames from Hobby Lobby. I may have one around here somewhere, but I'm hoping to get it finished up this week and maybe even get the picture frame painted, if not necessarily mounted before next weekend. And just a few more things. I did get a little bit of haul in this week. I ordered a couple of pieces of fabric. One was for the owl embroidery Southern Land piece that I showed in my last video. I was hoping to start that for 4th of July. And when I did not have the fabric, of course, I pulled this old Heart and Hand out and gave that a start. But I'm really itching to start Southern Land. I'm going to show it to you again. There are the threads. They're 4 colors. I just bought multiple skeins of those colors. And this is the piece. And I accidentally had just bought the wrong fabric color. So you see the fabric here, but the piece is nowhere near large enough for what I need for this piece. And it is a piece of lamb's wool, I believe. Yes, 32 count lamb's wool. So I did order that piece again, but in a piece, a size that I needed. And it's due to arrive tomorrow. So the 2 pieces of fabric that I needed will both arrive tomorrow. And then I got these in the mail. I got these from Stitch and Frog, which is in Oakwood, Georgia. They have a website. I'll list it below. But I've been itching to get my hands on this Teresa Kogut piece. Land that I love. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous. She calls for a piece of tin roof to stitch it on. She has the DMC Wheat Style Works and Crescent Color. No, it's not Crescent Colors. It's Classic Color Works. Colors listed in the key. And I love the fact that she's taken the time to tell in here how many skeins you need to finish these. Because just like with this one, it didn't tell me how many skeins I needed, but I knew enough to know to pull additional. That doesn't always happen. So you just kind of pull in willy-nilly, hoping you have enough. And I'm going to buy more. And then if I don't need it, I don't need it. But I would rather have too much than not enough. I also bought a couple of pieces from Liz Matthew. I've not, and this is Hello from Liz Matthews, which is Kathy Barrick's daughter. She has a Flosstube here, which I'll list below. These are a couple of her Market 2020 releases, and I watched her market release video with her mom, and there were so many things that just really caught my eye, and this is one of them. And this is the First Day of Christmas sampler and tree. And I love it finished as a whole piece with the borders. That's gorgeous. But this, on this specific fabric, speaks to me. The tree is an interesting way to finish it. Interesting meaning I do like it. I just don't know that I would display it that way. But I love the thought of doing it just like this on this fabric, but finishing it as a framed piece. We'll see how it goes. And I bought the Red R sampler. This is another one that really jumped out at me in her market video. I love how she took the time to stitch on the edges, because I think it was stitched on, they're thinking it was stitched on, was it a grain sack? The blue and red banding on both sides of the sampler should extend at the top and the bottom beyond where they are charted in order to make the sampler appear as if it was worked on an old grain sack linen, as the original piece was. So can you see that there? That is such an interesting way to do it. I love that she took the time to even chart and stitch that part. It just makes it a little more endearing. So those are my new charts I'm very happy of. And one other thing I want to bring, oh, I kicked the stand, I'm sorry. The Teresa Kogut piece, I love the way it's finished. It smells good. It doesn't have a bad smell. But I love that it's in a spiral book. And it's really heavy paper. This is a very, in my opinion, is a quality pattern. I really like this. And I don't think I have anything else to share with you this week. This coming week, I want to continue working on Christmas Eve by Prairie Schooler for Jolly July or Christmas. Let me try it again. Christmas in July, SAL. I'm hoping to get the fabric in for the Southern Land piece so that I can make a start on that, but I do not want to start it if I have not finished the Liberty House sampler. So that's going to be a focus this week of getting that one finished. And again, I'll work on the Needleworkers sampler as well. So I hope to see you all next weekend. I hope that everyone, all the Flosstubers, will continue to make videos this week to keep me company while I stitch on these pieces. And until next time, hugs and stitches, everyone. Much love to you all. Bye-bye.